There, perfect. Oh, a nice big weasel. Here's the stick system that I've been talking so much about. I learned this from Justin Wassersu, but see how well that protects my fur. Not that he's not against here. Now this tree he'd be okay to lean against because he wouldn't get pitch off of, but it makes it harder for other varmints to get a hold and chew them up and that. Welcome to Trapping Inc. I'm Rich Mellon. This is how the modern trapper sees a weasel most often. We catch him in our Fisher and Marten sets, and this is in a 120 Belial here, which is a large trap for a little guy. But today's show, we're going to show you how you can actually target them. We're calling the show jokingly Pizza Money, because I average, I don't know, maybe $3 for a weasel or whatever. Sandi says it takes 6 weasel to make supper, so pizza. Stick around. Trapping is the cornerstone that Canada was built on. Brave and sometimes crazy men and women, fueled by the lucrative fur trade, explored and mapped our great nation. Hundreds of years have passed since then, but trapping still remains vibrant, strong, and steeped in the ancient traditions. The fur bearers still follow the old paths and live as dictated by thousands of years of instinct. Fur only gets prime in the harsh temperatures of winter, and trappers must respect and prepare for the weather. Trapping's past is firmly rooted in history, but today, the gear and techniques have changed. Canada is still known for the best wild fur in the world, and today our pelts are sold on the global market. Our community is large, and our numbers are growing. We are trappers. This is what we do, and where we belong. Join us in our adventures. Welcome to Trapping Inc., the face of today's trapper. What you got there?
This is a big rat trap, basically. We use this to catch weasels, or ermine would be the proper name for them. We decided to show what it is to catch a weasel this year because we had a question from a viewer, and she asked if it was legal to catch the baby white ones, assuming that an ermine or a weasel is the same as a baby seal. So a baby seal is white, grows into something different. This person assumed that a weasel or an ermine was a baby marten or a baby fisher, I guess. So they're absolutely not. They are a completely different species. A part of the weasel family, of course, the same as, well, I think we call them mustelids, right?
Yes, correct.
So that's weasel, marten, fisher, and wolverine.
And mink and otter.
And mink and otter. So anyway, this is what we use as our base. Now, so what we've done, obviously this thing is loaded, so I'm not sticking my fingers anywhere near it because you don't need that kind of entertainment. It has a piece of something, beaver fat, I think is what it is. And we put it over top of this little knob here. So what they have to do is they have to try really hard to pull it off, and that will trigger this bar to come loose and this bar to snap over. It's a very quick kill system, but that's how this particular box is used.
The beauty of the pull trigger is it positions their head for the right strike.
Correct. So this is the base of it, and then what happens is we take this little box and we put it over top. So you can see here they'd have to stick their head in to into the box and then pull on that bait, which will trigger the trap to fire. So otherwise it wouldn't be much of an opportunity. They could pull it maybe perhaps from different angles, but this is a much more focused approach for them and a better chance of a quick kill.
All right, let's get it set up.
Trapping Inc. is brought to you by these fine sponsors. Helford's, unique beyond compare. HelfordsMailOrder.com. Belial Traps, first in the forest. BelialTrap.com. And by Alberta Outdoorsman Magazine, Alberta's only hunting, fishing, and trapping magazine. Welcome to Helford's, the leader in quality for over 100 years. Today we stock in-store and online over 5,000 superior products for hands-on outdoors people like you. Everything is here for trapping, animal damage control, as well as butchering supplies, food equipment, and authentic native arts, leather, and craft supplies. Make Helford's your first stop for the best selection of highest quality. Helford's, built on the traditions of honesty, integrity, and service.
Okay, it's all put together, and we have a couple of little nails in here that just hold the whole thing together, so nothing can knock it over and knock the top off and inadvertently spring the trap. So we're going to put it over here. This is an excellent spot because weasels are one of their big food sources is squirrels. So we look for a midden, and this one looks to be fairly active. There's 4 or 5 holes in here, lots of spruce cones around, so it's a great spot to set the trap up, and it's a nice sheltered area from any snow as well. So we'll just set it down here and be on our way.
And I'm literally like a squirrel losing his nuts when it comes to weasel boxes. I shove them here, shove them there, and I don't always shove them out in the open. I'll shove it on the other side of the tree where I'll never find it again.
Yeah, exactly. Look around and go, now where did I put that box? So anyway, hopefully when we come back, we'll have a weasel to show you. Well, a little bit of overkill here, hey?
Man, that's pretty. The sun's just setting over this beaver dam over here, and this is where we like to set for mink and marten and fisher and everything, and we always end up with the weasels. Now, a 160 is definitely overkill on a weasel, but surprisingly, we don't end up having much damage. Occasionally, if they get caught in the corner or something like that, you might have. This guy here, though, will be, I'm sure it's going to be just fine. There he goes. Yeah. His little body is practically chopped in half, but you can see there's this little tiny bit of rust mark there. Other than that, and you can also see the fleas moving on him already.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, they all have fleas. He's just white, so you can see them.
Yeah, that's true. True story.
Hey, don't be sneering at him.
No, he's part of a pizza.
If I get $3 for him, we only need 5 more to go with it.
All right, well, we got a nice little weasel trap over here. And this is one of the areas that we like to target them with this tall swamp grass and whatnot. And you can see all over in here, there's weasel tracks and mice tracks. And this is why we're targeting them in this area. So, and there's fresh or fairly fresh kitty sign right here too. We used to have a kitty pen close by.
That's the second in a week there.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, look at the
Ooh.
weasel trap. Oh, hey, you see it?
Yep. We got a weasel. All right. There he is. Look at that. Well, something else got in here and ate all the grub, so he was the early bird that didn't get the worm. And somebody else got his dinner, but that's just as easy as it happens here with these guys. It's a quick kill, and
That's a big weasel.
it's a big weasel. So
You ever hear that line before? Come here, let me show you my weasel.
yeah, very funny. All right, well, the wind is a little bit chilly
Time to
today.
get back into the Argo, huh?
Yeah.
And now for Halford's Trapper's Tip of the Week.
Okay, with our weasel trap, it's no different than any other trap that we use. There are ways that we can make it more efficient. We can make it for a quicker dispatch for the animal. We've got it in a box here. Now, what the whole idea behind the box is not to protect the catch or to protect the bait or anything. It's to focus the animal so that the animal comes in only in one direction. We don't want him coming in and going sideways across the trap or over top this part. It can make for a very ugly catch. So we have it so that he's sticking his head in here and he's setting himself up to be struck on the back of the neck by the trap. The other thing that we've done, and these are just a giant rat trap, okay? And you can see this has the old pan on it, just like you have on any other mouse trap that you've ever used. It's got this old pan. Well, the problem with that pan is that he can once again step on it. Even inside here, he can crawl in here and he can step on it and he can be out of position to have a very effective catch. I've taken and put a pull trigger. Taken this off, and it's really simple to do, and mounted a pull trigger, okay? Put it on there. Just a matter of adjusting the length of that, so then you end up with what happens is the rat goes, or the weasel shoves his head in here. We've controlled his head, the direction that his head can go. He grabs a hold of the bait. He wants to get out of there, and gives a little pull, and bang. There you go. That's simple. But just maximize your catch and maximize your dispatch.
That was Halford's Trapper's Tip of the Week.
Well, for us, living off the grid out here in the great outdoors means creating our own heat, and that's wood. So in the off season, in the summertime, we're busy cutting and splitting, but in order to protect that investment, we built a woodshed this year so that it keeps the snow and the rain off the wood, allows it a place to either dry or keep it from being wet, or that we have to shovel things off. Also keeps it away from the cabin, which is where we stored it before. Lots of the rodents and so on like to live in there. So anyway, for us, that's how we do it.
Clean up. First time back since the end of the season, and because we were headed to Africa this year, we were in a giant rush to get the heck out of here, and I got boxes that I got to put away, and we're taking a look around some of the stuff that we want to do. One of the things that we want to do here is actually get our wood under cover. We got lots of dogs this weekend. I think I'm going to take and build a wood shed here. A sloped metal roof on it, probably this width, and just maybe covering the sides so that snow doesn't drift in. I want to get my wood away from my cabin. Wood sits there in the wintertime, that's fine, but in the summertime, ants love wood, so I do not want to encourage ants at a wood cabin. So I got to build that. Sandi thinks she's filming one of those episodes of Why Women Live Longer Than Men. It's not what you think. I'm a professional. This is done with all safety in mind. We don't practice any safety, but it's done with safety in mind. Hey, what are you doing?
Well, now that it's built, it's got to get filled. Well, I'll get this in and get the stove loaded up, and then we better be on our way.
Trapping Inc. is brought to you by these fine sponsors. Argo UTV, any season, any terrain. ArgoUTV.com. Puma Knives, knife maker to the world since 1786. And by Carl Zeiss Sport Optics, we make it visible. Gentech-intl.com. Welcome to Halfords, the leader in quality for over 100 years. Today we stock in-store and online over 5,000 superior products for hands-on outdoors people like you. Everything is here for trapping, animal damage control, as well as butchering supplies, food equipment, and authentic native arts, leather, and craft supplies. Make Halfords your first stop for the best selection of highest quality. Halfords, built on the traditions of honesty, integrity, and service.
Once again, another 160. A little black tip hanging down is kind of a dead giveaway that it's a weasel. They don't have enough weight to make the trap fall out after it springs. There we go.
Yikes.
Talk about the perfect catch on a weasel, huh?
Yeah,
Right there.
it was over quick for him.
I think it's thawed enough that I can just reset it. Obviously, weasels climb really, really good. We get so many of them in our Marten and Fisher boxes. At times, they become a pest. And when he's here, if a Marten or Fisher comes along, you know, I'm kind of beat that way. So that's why oftentimes the best place to put a weasel box is right down at the bottom where you get lots of weasels. This is one of the places where I'm right alongside of a big swamp. There's lots of swamp grass. Weasels love that swamp grass, and I get a lot of weasels in these situations. His neck is cleanly broken, as you can see. That big old trap just unloaded on him. And so his neck is, but all I've got is a little bit of rust mark from the trap. That's it.
He's in good shape.
Here's your favorite buddy.
Oh yeah, the flea.
Yeah. If I just hold my finger next to him, he'll warm up, he'll get moving. Weasels are really, really simple. We case skin them just like everything else. The put up on them is really easy when we put them on the board. The only thing about the little guy is he's a loaded stick of dynamite. In comparison to any of the other weasels, this little guy can smell. So we start over on the heel again. And back to the vent. This is where if you're going to run into trouble, it's going to happen. And then up the other side to the other heel. Now, we just work the flesh, work apart your flesh and your skin. It's kind of tough with my big fingers. I probably have more trouble with the weasel with anything else because my fingers are so large. But once you get in between there, pull it off, bring it down, no big deal. Do the same on the other side. Okay, so back here then, we're at the vent. And we need to just a couple little cuts around it a bit so we don't get into those glands. Vent. Okay, now some people use a puller. If you've got a good set of fingernails, you can use your fingernails. And then we just pull them down like a sock. I have to be careful. This guy went through a large trap, and I could pull him in half very, very easily. There we go. The feet on the front don't have to be taken care of. You can just go like this. Pull it right through. Because they have small feet, durable fur. Okay, now we're down onto the head. These are the ears. You can see by that white cartilage that goes back, it's the ears, so we give it a cut there. Take and work it down. We're at the eyes now. And we want to just make a few relieving cuts as we squeeze on this skin with our fingers. That produces the pressure to keep moving the hide away, right? Right out the end of the nose. There we have it. Now we have this beautiful little pelt here, and it is so simple to board. We board it fur in. And you pull it on the board, and if you can pull it on the board, you just about got it done. If you take a look, we have a little bit of meat in a couple places here, a little under the armpits, and that is it. So a couple pinches of sawdust. Just take and rub a little sawdust on it. I've seen some people use a wool sock. Either works. There's the meat off. A bit more here. Okay. One pin there. Pull his legs around to the front. One there. And one right over here. Now, some people, I'm one of them, if it's easy enough, I like to take and tie the front legs. And there we have a weasel. I hope you've enjoyed our show today on Pizza Money. We affectionately call these little guys Pizza Money. I hope to see you down the trail.
You can keep up with all the action at trappinginc.com or join our Facebook and YouTube sites.